letter to Kalean from his mother, Catherine Homer Paton, which went with his earthly body on its final journey. Dear Kalean, I took a walk this morning at the Audubon Center to pick some flowers for you. When I walked out by the pond, a mother duck with her ducklings sped away, practically running on the water. Then a beaver slapped his tail, first once and then again to signal me to keep going. As I walked back to the house, I saw a rainbow over the fields past the great willow tree. As I sat on the front step, I thought of how large branches of that tree had fallen over the years. Once they were down, there was no putting them back up. Yet there is often new growth. I realize when change occurs. Thank you for being our son, Kalean. We love you and miss you, and will cherish the gift of your life always. Go in peace and be open to all of God's blessings, and we will try to do the same. Lots of love, Mom.
My name is Skip Kosciuszko. I've been a friend of the Paton family for many years. Kalean attended our church. I went to school with David Paton. I'm also a fireman who was involved with the rescue, search, and recovery operations. I am deeply honored to be asked by Catherine and David to speak here today. I'd like you to consider a few verses from the book of Matthew chapter 5, the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus was addressing a large crowd, and this is how he began. He said, "Humble men are very fortunate, for the kingdom of heaven shall be given to them. Those who mourn are fortunate, for they shall be comforted. The meek and lowly are fortunate, for the whole wide world belongs to them. Happy are those who long to be just and good, for they shall be completely satisfied. Happy are the kind and merciful, for they shall be shown mercy. Happy are those who strive for peace, for they shall be called sons of God." Now we can put these in the back of your head for just a moment. I'm going to come back to those. David Paton asked me to speak a bit about the events that took Kalean's life on June 16th. A group of friends had just gotten out of school for the summer. I bet they were feeling pretty exuberant, pretty happy. They celebrated by heading to the falls at Falls Village. They were jumping off the rocks into the plunge pool. They thought they were safe because they were downstream of the biggest hazard, where the falling water impacts the pool below. They had been in this pool before and were acquainted with the hazards. Kalean had been in and around this river most of his life. But this day there was a hazard that probably none of the kids could have seen. Right along the rocks they were jumping from, there was a backwater or an eddy. This flow was sweeping right along the base of the rocks, pulling everything in its path up the river and back into the vortex at the base of the falls. Initially it was slow, but as it got closer to the base of the falls, it became very rapid. And then there were moments when this backwater stopped altogether, like it had gone away. One of the kids got stuck in this backwater and pulled to within inches of the vortex. Just before he reached this crucial spot, he found a purchase point to hold on to, but it was precarious at best. Once he reached this point, there is no way out except up the cliff. Kalean, probably feeling a sense of responsibility, went to the aid of his friend. He went back to help get his friend to safety. Unfortunately, even he could not deal with the forces at work at the base of the falls that day. These forces were devastatingly powerful, but incredibly sublime. He was most likely killed or knocked out instantly when he encountered the plunge at the base of the falls. I was there and I saw these forces. To venture into those forces to help a friend speaks volumes of the character and the bravery of this young man. That's the kind of kid that Kalean was. Catherine and David, you should be very, very proud. I ran into David on Friday right across the road here, and David was concerned that the kids, especially Kalean, were viewed as reckless. And David, I believe they were reckless. I bet they were reckless in what they had for breakfast that day. I bet they were reckless in how they got to school that day. I bet they were reckless in how they got to those falls. And I bet he was reckless when he went in to aid his friend who needed it. I think God gives teenage boys that recklessness as he cultures heroes. As a fireman, we train and train all the time, so we be prepared to help our neighbor at their time of need. And there's no greater honor than to be involved with the rescue that saves a life, especially when that is the life of a young person. But there is no greater tragedy than to be involved with a rescue when a young person is lost. Kalean was taken into tragedy despite the best efforts of all the rescuers. We were not able to save Kalean. None of the rescuers even saw Kalean that afternoon, but everybody feels the responsibility of losing a person in the prime of his life. I cannot imagine the pain felt by his family. This is a loss that can never be forgotten, and all of us will carry for the rest of our lives. Kalean will be missed, greatly missed. I will miss him. But I also believe that Kalean is still here. Let's take a moment and look at what Kalean encouraged us to do. He wanted us to become vegetarians for the betterment of our society and our earth. He mourned for those who are less fortunate than so many of us here today, and he yearned to see those injustices corrected. He loved the peace festivals and all they stood for, and I'm glad he can see the decorations that are here today. Kalean Paton walked on this earth for only a brief period of time, but the lessons he brought to us will last forever. Now let's go back and revisit the verses that I opened with today. The values that Jesus espouses here almost look like they could have been written about Kalean. And for those of you who do not share my Christian faith, these values are just about universal in other religions as well. There is eternity in these values and the people that carry them. Kalean Paton is one of those people. The greatest honor we can bestow on a person is to continue the pursuits of that person after they have died. Kalean was a young man of humility who put the needs of others before his own needs. As he looked at the suffering around this world, he mourned for those who are less fortunate. And as he looked at our world, he strove for a more